Welcome back to another episode of Cathedral Chats. I'm your host, Father Jacob Toma, and today we'll be doing an interview with the brand new associate here at the Cathedral and St. Mary's Star of the Sea. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as Father Jacob just said, my name is Father Jacob Toma. I am the brand new associate here at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Rosary and St. Mary's Star of the Sea. I was ordained a priest just a couple of weeks ago on June 23rd, 2023. So as of the time of recording this video, I am very much still a baby priest. And with that, I just have to say that I'm so excited to be able to serve you as not only my first assignment, but just as the people who I really get to learn and just grow as a priest. My favorite saints, I'll give you 4 of them. First of all, Saint Josemaria Escriva. He's the founder of Opus Dei. And what I love about Saint Josemaria Escriva is that he's very pragmatic and practical in the way that he teaches. There's actually a little collection of books that have some of his one-liner statements, and they're just these wonderful statements that kind of just punch you in the gut and say, be holy, you know? And so I just very much love not only his pragmatism with it, but just very easy to digest kind of his vision of holiness and what the Lord is calling us to. Number 2, I would say that I have a special devotion to Saint Maximilian Kolbe. And the way that I discovered him was I had to do a book report to the 5th grade on a saint. And so Saint Maximilian Kolbe, his book was really cool because as a kid, barbed wire and war stories were always awesome. And so that's what was on the cover of the book. And I'm like, this is the guy for me. So in the 5th grade, I read about his life and just his heroic sacrifice, the way that he laid down his life for others, was something that really resonated with me. And just as somebody who desires to give themselves to the Lord, just seeing this man who gave not only everything for the Lord through his vocation, but also he was a man who lived for others. And we can see this by the sacrifice that he made for his fellow prisoner who was in the concentration camps with him. And then thirdly, I would say that I have a special devotion to Saint Maria Goretti. And kind of the way that my devotion came about to her was through another seminarian. You might remember Father Jeremy Bach. Now Father Jeremy Bach. He went off to Rome and he actually was able to get a first-class relic of her. And so he gave me that relic, and so I have it. And whenever there's the feast day of Saint Maria Goretti, you might notice that we bring out those relics for veneration. And so she's one of these saints who just lived a very beautiful life. Someone who not only gave their all to the Lord through martyrdom, but also just lived a life of heroic virtue at a very young age. And so Saint Maria Goretti is very near and dear to my heart. Fourthly, my favorite saint, and probably my most favorite out of them all, is Saint John Chrysostom. Now, he was the Patriarch of Constantinople, and so he was kind of this priest, this bishop, this man who just lived for Jesus unabashedly. One of the paintings in my office, actually, I'll point you to that right now, is St. John Chrysostom actually confronting the Empress Eudoxia. And what happened was Eudoxia was this Byzantine princess, royal member of the family, who basically tried to interfere with the matters of the church. And this painting depicts the moment where St. John Chrysostom actually preached out against her. And what's beautiful about this is that this was the moment in which St. John Chrysostom would be exiled to one of the Greek islands for pretty much the rest of his life, living in exile. But what it shows is that the preacher who St. John Chrysostom is, and whom he is one of the patron saints for, is called to simply proclaim the truth, no matter what the cost is, and out of love for Jesus. The other thing too is that his name, Chrysostom, actually means gold tongue. And what's cool about that is that he preached in such a way that people said that it was as if his tongue was gilded in gold. And so just a man who proclaimed Jesus Christ unabashedly, even at the cost of not only his life, but ultimately like his status, his power, and just he gave up everything to follow Jesus. So St. John Chrysostom, super awesome guy. Yeah, so for my family, I have a brother and two sisters. My brother's name is Josh. He's 24, and he recently just got engaged, so very excited for him and his fiance. And then I have two sisters, Eleanor and Coraline, who are 17 and 12. So it's still very much fun to go home. My two sisters are both deaf and blind, and so they can only see like up to 6 feet and not detail, but we communicate through sign language. And so it's very easy for me to talk in church, at home with my family. And it's kind of funny because my mom will get me in trouble sometimes. And so I just find that very funny how we talk in church, but we really don't talk in church. So kind of funny how that works. But both of my sisters were born with a disease called Brown-Violetto Van Leer syndrome. And it's a very rare um, genetic disease that basically affects the mitochondrium, some respiratory stuff, and just all sorts of like hearing and visual things. But both of my sisters live at home with my parents. My parents are Deb and Deacon Grant. My dad is a permanent deacon, and I like to joke that I had my vocation before him. And so I wanted to be a priest and deacon before it was cool, I guess. But very much just love my parents. They live north of Hibbing, and so I'm able to go home and go hunting, fishing on the lake that they live on. And so just growing up as a kid, very much grew up in the outdoors and just loving northern Minnesota. Like, what's not to love here? It's so beautiful and awesome. When it comes to things that I enjoy, like I said before, I love hunting, fishing, like love being outdoors. I have a sailboat that gets out every once in a while. It's a little old and rusty that I got at a church garage sale out of all places, but I like taking that out sometimes. I also enjoy playing board games. So a big one for me is Warhammer 40,000. And I'd say that's probably the one that consumes most of my time, what little free time I do have. I just really love hearing confessions. It's something that I didn't expect as a newly ordained priest because you don't really know what to expect as a new priest. But just seeing how the Lord desires to show not only his love, but his mercy to his people, And one of the things that Bishop Felton said at my ordination is, he said, Jacob, one of the things that you'll have in your priesthood is just a lot of moments where you ask the Lord, who am I, to be able to receive such a great gift? Like, Lord, who am I to be the one who is your conduit and instrument of mercy? And so very much so, just seeing how the Lord works through confession has been something that's just been not only astounding, but just something that's been so beautiful and uplifting for my heart. For devotions, I would say that I have one in particular that I like to pray a lot. And if you've been to me for confession, you've noticed that I have this little black, kind of looks like a rosary, but it's not. It's a prayer rope that you use to keep track of how many times you've prayed the Jesus prayer. So the Jesus prayer has its roots in the Eastern churches. So like the Orthodox, but also the Eastern Catholic churches. And what's beautiful about it is that it's simply a prayer that we ask the Lord for his mercy. And so there's many different versions of the prayer because there's many different translations of the prayer. But the one that I pray, and if you see me in the confessional just like moving the beads and stuff, it's because I'm praying for not only the penitent, but just for the whole world, asking the Lord to pour out his mercy upon us. And so the prayer that I pray is, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And so you just simply pray that prayer, and it goes through your day, and it simply like sanctifies each and every little moment of your day. So just a moment, just a way in which we're able to remain close to Jesus. Finally, I would just say that, as a new priest, there's a lot to learn. And so I'm just very grateful for everyone's patience with me and just understanding. Like one day, you're just some random deacon, who is in the seminary. And then the next day, you're a priest. And everybody thinks like, oh, Father's been in it for like 50, 60, 70 years, he has the wisdom of ages, and like Father knows everything that there is to know. But just being patient and knowing like, yeah, the priesthood is new to me too. And so I'm just very grateful for not only your patience, but also your understanding, even when I mess up on those little things like switching the vocations prayer and the St. Michael prayer, or, why did Father do this way this weekend, or why did he do it that way, and it's simply just those growing pains of being a brand new priest. So I'm grateful for not only for your patience, but also just your prayers, and just the love that you've shown me even within these first few weeks of being here at the Cathedral and St. Mary's Star of the Sea. So what I would say is that, I'm just grateful for not only these communities, but also to just grow and learn to be the priest that the Lord is calling me to be. And so I'm just very grateful for that. I'm also grateful for Father Seth, to just be with him as his associate. He's been really awesome, and I know that there's a lot of blessings that the Lord has for us through his ministry. Well, that was weird. So I don't know what just happened there. The interview where I interviewed or I was interviewed or something like that. It's kind of just weird how it all works. Like, I'm not sure if it was by location, but it was very strange, and I've never had that kind of thing happen before. So join us next time on Cathedral Chats, where we do something else. After these interviews, which we've done, so if you haven't watched already the interview that I did with Father Seth, make sure to watch that. And next time on Cathedral Chats, we'll do something fun. So we'll see you next time. Bye.